Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about WandaVision and all the Easter eggs we got from the first two episodes. And there are many Easter eggs to the whole MCU. And well, I I tried to write it down, and it looked like this. And it's actually my third piece of paper that I got, and so I decided to do a breakdown on both episodes in this video, and continuing next week we're gonna do this for each episode. I have slight references to comics, but not all of them. I guess there are way more of them. But yeah, let's get started with all the Easter eggs and my personal theories. There are quite some of them, and I think a lot of people think in the same direction, or in another one. Let's start with the timeline. WandaVision is supposed to be set after Endgame, but before Doctor Strange 2. So everything that is happening in WandaVision has an effect on Doctor Strange 2. Basically, when it comes to Wanda, who will be seen in Doctor Strange 2. The big question is, how is Vision alive? Basically, he's not. That's what I thought, which is still the thing I believe in. So Wanda killed Vision in Infinity War, and he stays dead in Endgame, even though Thanos managed to turn back time in Infinity War. Let's just pretend he's actually dead. Then my theory would be that Wanda is actually living in an illusion created by herself. Because she's all happy. She is all happy in this idealistic suburban lifestyle, and everything is about kids. Well, not everything, but a lot of things are happening, and kids are being mentioned a lot, actually. Starting in the first step. So Agnes comes over, the neighbor from the right, as she says, and she's asking why how a single woman like Wanda can live in such a big house. Continues in the same episode with Mr. and Mrs. Hart when they come over with Vision for dinner, and Wanda and Vision get asked the same question, which they cannot answer, by the way. In the second episode, we get to see the talent show, which is for the children. And in the end of episode 2, Wanda makes herself subconsciously pregnant, because she's obviously not pregnant from Vision, who is more or less a robot, even though we don't like to call him that. Who would love, or who would like Wanda to have children? I believe a big clue happens in the second episode, and it could be Hydra, because we can see Hydra on the logo of the Swiss watch, which is called Strucker. We know Hydra from Avengers Age of Ultron. We know Baron Strucker, who was experimenting on kids, like Wanda and her brother, who died, in the fight against Ultron. But this is a hint of Hydra experimenting with kids, so Hydra could also be involved in wanting Wanda to have children in order to experiment on them. But in the same time, this TV commercial that we see about the Strucker watch could just be to reflect on Wanda's trauma and suffering she had in the real life, because she's currently not living the real life. Because we also see Stark Industries in the first episode in the TV commercial. And if you listened closely enough, you could hear the toaster making a repulsor noise, which was so amazing. This is the first thing I heard before I even saw the Stark Industries logo, and before they said it was made by Stark Industries. I was like, wait, is this a repulsor sound? Like, is this thing going to fly? So Stark Industries could also be involved in this whole charade, in this whole charade or illusion of a life, or whatever Wanda and Vision are living right now. But I don't think it's Stark Industries. We know how Howard Stark was around by the time. He was working with the SSR or Shield, whatever. What in the 50s? If it's set in the 50s, and it would have been Shield by the time, or should have already been Shield. But we don't know that. Maybe Stark will do an appearance on the show, but I wouldn't expect it too much. I believe those TV commercials were more or less to show the trauma Wanda got from her in her real life, since Stark Industries was responsible for her parents' death in Sokovia, because it was the Stark Industries missile that killed her parents. Another theory about Stark Industries could also be the reference to a future invention of Stark, which was called BARF, and we saw that in the second Spider-Man. BARF was for binarily augmented retroframing, I believe, where whole illusions, whole augmented realities, holograms were created, right? So this could be the reason why Stark Industries was shown in the first episode. Maybe the whole illusion, this whole suburban life, is created by BARF. But this is very far from whatever. Well, it's a very weak theory, actually, of mine. But still, it could be. About Hydra and experimenting kids could also, well, what Hydra, if it is Hydra that has an interest in Wanda having children, we could reference it to, or we could suspect that, well, Wanda will most likely lose the children in the end of the series. I haven't read anything, but as far as I know in the comics, she loses her children, and that's what drives Wanda mad. And then Doctor Strange 2 would have something to pick up on for the storyline in Doctor Strange 2. So this is possible as well. The big question is Wanda creating this illusion herself, or is it somebody else? Is she trapped there, or is she there voluntarily? Both could be the case. The third entity we have is SWORD. We get many SWORD clues, not that many in the first episode, but a lot more in the second. We see SWORD in the first episode, in the end, where this television live episode ends with Wanda and Vision getting wedding bands, wedding rings, and we get some credits, and then we see somebody watching this episode and closing a notebook, and then we see the shield, not shield, but the SWORD logo. For those not knowing what SWORD is, it's the space equivalent to shield on the ground. SWORD is going to be amazing. Got some wild theories about that one as well, but this doesn't fit into this one. So we get to see SWORD in the end of the first episode, and then we get to see them multiple times in the second one. Starting with the helicopter, which is basically the first thing in color we get to see in this black and white suburban life of Wanda and Vision. This little helicopter ends up in Wanda's garden, and she looks at it, and you can see the SWORD logo on it, and it's shown in the camera. And I believe Wanda realizes that it is SWORD, and I believe she knows what SWORD is. She's really confused about it, and then Agnes comes around and picks her up to go somewhere. The second time we see or hear from SWORD is the radio, where an anonymous voice asks Wanda who is doing that to her. This implies it's not really an illusion of Wanda herself. What else implies that this is not something Wanda is doing willingly is that she has no memory at all, and Vision neither, about how they got there. They know about the present life, they know they're married, They know came there, and they know that Wanda is from Sokovia, from Europe. That's what they mentioned in the first episode. Vision is clearly knows that he is not human. Both know about their powers, and they are using them, so they're allowed to use them. But in the first episode, when they're eating dinner, it looks like they're completely blank, like the memories got wiped, which could be the work of S.W.O.R.D. Doesn't have to. We don't know. Maybe it's just Wanda not wanting to realize that this isn't the real world. This could also be the case. So we don't know that at all. It's just another theory. What we get to see from S.W.O.R.D. is Geraldine, which will most likely turn out to be Monica Rambeau. We know Monica Rambeau from the MCU already, where she was playing in Captain Marvel. So there's a reference there. There's a connection. And we have this space S.W.O.R.D. connection there as well. So safe to say, she definitely knows what's happening in there. She knows Wanda, most likely. And it's like S.W.O.R.D. is watching Wanda, but in the same time cannot protect her or don't understand the whole big picture. It's like S.W.O.R.D. doesn't know why it's happening itself. So basically, it's also possible that S.W.O.R.D. is definitely not in charge of what's happening around Wanda. And the big question is, who's Agnes? There are wild theories that Agnes might be Agatha Harkness from the comics. She was the teacher of Wanda or Scarlet Witch to teach her magic or how to control it. Could she also be Hydra? Because she definitely also knows that something else is going on in this whole world, and she's a little bit pushy. That's can I even say that, pushy? That's how I picked her up as a character. She wants to know a lot. She's overly friendly, tries to stay as much as possible around Wanda and Vision. Well, I hope we will find out soon. She carries this little brooch on everything, by the way. There's something I picked up as well. This little brooch. I don't know the symbol. I haven't seen the symbol correctly, but she's wearing it everywhere. So this might be something important we get to know or get to see in the future episodes. And I believe her husband might have a bigger role than we expect. She's always talking about Rolf and how much he hates him. Well, not really hates him, but that how inconsiderate and how forgetful he is about anniversaries. She's not really happy with him, kinda. But in the same time, she's not really unhappy to have him. So the question is, who's Rolf? She's quoting him a lot. She's mentioning him a lot, but we haven't seen him yet. So I think once we see him, he will have an important role. What I picked up also is in the scene with Dottie. Dottie says, "The devil's inside the details." And Agnes leans over to Wanda and says, "That's not the only place he's in." Is this maybe a Mephisto theory there or Easter egg? I don't know. It could be. But coming to Dottie, I cannot pronounce her. Dottie, she might be also an important player, because when we hear the radio speaking to Wanda, the glass breaks in her hand and we see blood. We see the color of it. It's the second time we see color in this episode before everything turns colorish in the end of the episode. So something is definitely happening with her. It might be just that it happened in the presence of the radio going off weirdly, or it could mean that Dottie is maybe also Hydra or part of one of those entities. It might be Stark, which I don't really think. It might be Hydra, or it could be S.W.O.R.D. She's annoying, but she's still somehow she's clever. She's definitely clever. She's not dumb. But in the same time, everyone could be Hydra or Sword. We know that. We know that everyone could be Hydra. We saw that in the MCU so many times. We saw that in the movies, and we saw that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We cannot say for sure. But the last thing I want to mention, or last two things I want to mention, is the end scene, where we see this beekeeper coming out of the underground. He has a sword hazmat suit on, and what Wanda says is no. Like, she realizes who that guy is, or who this guy might be, and she rewinds the time, so she's in charge in this illusion, so, or at least partly, because she like rewinds time, and then they're standing in the again in the living room talking about her pregnancy, and they never go out, and they never see the beekeeper. So, well, I believe we won't see this beekeeper again, or maybe we will, but we couldn't really see his face clearly. But what was he doing there? What the hell? Well, I don't know where I picked it up, but this would mean that Wanda knows that she's in an illusion and that she actually created it herself. Because I don't think if it's Hydra or Sword in charge that they would give Wanda the power to manipulate this illusion. But in the end, it's all theories. But the beekeeper, I don't know where I picked it up. I believe he's definitely not Sword. The bees, he's taking all this swarm of bees, and, well, saying swarm, we get to have, we actually have a villain called Swarm in the comics. He's not Sword, he's not Hydra. He was mentioned in, I think, Spider-Man, and it could be Swarm. But I think this would be too much of cross-referencing for this. In the end, it should be just a mini-series, right? We're getting 9 episodes. I don't think we're gonna see this beekeeper again. But if we do, then this might be Swarm. I feel like my head is exploding. There are so many Easter eggs in just 2 episodes, and I was worried that we won't see much because we saw the first episode was 23 minutes with 7 minutes of credits. 7 minutes of credits. And the second one was 30 minutes. So in total, we didn't even get an hour of storyline. And I've been talking for such a long time now just about Easter eggs and small things I saw or realized in those 2 episodes. So I definitely can't believe what's happening there. There's a big game. And I must say that Marvel Studios really surprised me. I am a big fan of Marvel, as you can hopefully guess. I mean, those who know me from Twitch, they know that. Or from Instagram, I'm a huge Marvel fan. But I didn't expect much from this. I don't know why, but I didn't expect much from it. And in the end, it turned out to be super interesting. It's supposed to be super funny in the sitcom lifestyle in the 50s or 50s, 60s with this black and white scheme. But it's going to be very deep for the MCU, and it's going to be very dark. Once they're ripped out of this illusion, it's going to be heartbreaking. That's what I predict. But I think this is enough of Easter eggs and theories, because my head's blowing up and I don't want to know how you are feeling about it. You saw the episodes, I guess, or you wouldn't watch all this breakdown. So let me know what you think about the 2 episodes. What you picked up. Maybe I missed something. Or what didn't you see and just got to know from this whole conclusion of mine. That would be very interesting to know. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to follow the future breakdowns we're going to do weekly from now on. And thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you hopefully next week.